Hey guys, what's up, it's iFlynn here, and today we're going to be talking about all the essential nodes in the focus skill trees. Now, if you haven't completed the Second Dream or the War of Inquest, you may not want to watch this video because it does contain spoilers, and that is the only warning that I'm going to give you. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds to click off this video. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. From this point onwards, there's going to be like spoilers and stuff like that. So, focus is a system that you unlock after the War of In and Second Dream Quest, and you're asked to choose one tree after the Second Dream Quest. You get to choose from 5 different trees. You have NARAMON, Zeneric, VAZARIN, UNAIRU, and MADURAI. Each of these different trees have like a different sort of focus to them. So NARAMON is focused around melee, Zeneric is focused around energy and energy regen, VAZARIN is focused around healing and keeping your team alive, UNAIRU is focused around armor and keeping yourself alive, and MADURAI is focused around just general damage dealing and buffing up damage, right? So in all of these trees, there is 2 waybound passives, and waybound passives are passives that can be used across all of the trees. So for example, if we were to click on Zeneric right here, and we took a look at Void Siphon and Void Flow, you would see that it says Unbound right beside these, right? Which means I have these unbound and I can use them in any skill tree. So if we back out of this and we go into NARAMON, we can see that I have Void Flow and Void Siphon right here, which are the 2 that were in the Zeneric tree, and we can now use here in the NARAMON tree. So basically in this video, I'm going to be going through all of the different nodes and showing you guys which ones are the best to have in every single skill tree, which ones you should spend your focus on first, and which ones basically aren't worth really anything or are just a waste of time if you're not all about min-maxing, right? So, in the Zeneric skill tree, let's just go ahead and unequip everything that is unnecessary. I would say this left half of the skill tree are things that you're going to want, plus this little middle one right here. So obviously you're going to want to rank up Energy Pulse, because this is just like a straight up buff. Energy pickups grant 50% additional energy over 5 seconds, which is great. Inner Might is a melee focused ability, so if you want this, it's going to be heavily dependent on whether or not you use melee a lot, because it increases your melee channeling efficiency by 60%. So if you're using a frame like Excalibur with Exalted Blade, then this might be a good thing to run if you're using Life Strike, right? If you're using Heal and Return, might be a different story, but I would still recommend picking this one up because it's just like a straight buff across the board. Energizing Dash is your must-have. It is the first thing I would go for in this tree, as it allows you to regen energy for your Warframe. You go into your operator, you do a little dash, it leaves a field around, which is going to regen 5 energy per second over 30 seconds, which is really awesome. So you stand in this bubble, and then once you leave it, you also get that energy regen for a short period of time, and it's just a really good ability. Lightning Dash isn't necessary, but if you want it, you know, it's just like a little ball of lightning, which is cool to have. It's a cool effect. Again, you don't need this at all. Void Siphon and Void Flow are your waybounds, so you're going to rank these up to maximum, and then you're going to spend 1 million focus on each of them, plus a Brilliant Eidolon Shard to unbind these so you can use them in different skill trees. So these are the nodes that I would recommend are must-haves in the Zeneric skill tree. Go ahead, get them, and they're really awesome. The other ones are just like Void Mode buffs, which are going to drain more energy, and this one is, you know, it slows enemies and stuff like that, but you know, you have frames in the game that can do that for you, so what's the point in having it on your operator to like a lesser extent? It just doesn't really make that much sense to me, at least. So moving on, we're going to check out the NARAMON focus skill tree. This is one that is all based around melee, and you can see here that I actually already have the ones highlighted, which I think you should go ahead and get. So Affinity Spike is a melee buff, which gives you more affinity on melee kills, which is awesome. It helps you farm focus more efficiently if you're doing it on a Daro by putting enemies to sleep or using a Savage Silence Banshee. It just makes it so you get more XP, which means that you get more focus for melee kills, which is awesome. So if you're all about farming focus and getting everything, I recommend choosing the NARAMON tree first over the Zeneric tree, but if you're a casual player, I'd recommend choosing the Zeneric tree first, as it's going to make the rest of the game really easy for you. But if you're into like getting everything, NARAMON would be the way to go from, you know, the Second Dream Quest, so then you can like do other stuff as well and get things faster. So Affinity Spike for the increased XP. Power Spike is a very good ability, as it makes your combo counter decay by 5 when you're out of combat, every few seconds instead of it like just completely disappearing whenever your combo counter decays, right? So usually it would just completely disappear, but if you have this, it makes it slowly decay, which is pretty awesome, and it makes it so you deal more damage across the board with melee, which is great. Mind Step increases the movement speed of your operator. No reason not to have that, especially if you want to kill Eidolons. Mind Sprint is going to increase the speed of Void Dash by 120%, which is great, and you'll see why whenever you combine these two with the passives from the Zener tree, it's just really good, and it makes it so that you can fly insane amounts with your operator, and it makes traversing the plains and any other tile set really easy, right? So yeah, that's what I recommend getting in the NARAMON tree, these 4 little nodes here. Moving on, when we're taking a look at the MADURAI tree, this in my opinion is again one of the best trees, and everything that I have highlighted here is what I recommend getting, with the exception of Void Radiance, right? You have to get this. But the thing is, it has like a weird interaction with Void Strike, right? And I'll explain that a little bit more. So what this does is whenever you're invisible, it's going to consume more energy so you can blind enemies for like a wide radius, right? So it's like a miniature radial blind, but it makes it so that your energy decays faster while you're invisible, right? And that's a bad thing whenever you take a look at what Void Strike does. So whenever you leave Void mode, which is your invisible mode, the next 8 attacks are going to deal 12% additional damage for every second spent cloaked. So it basically is a multiplicative increase to your damage the longer you stay invisible for. And you can keep on stacking this damage up, and 8 shots after you stacked all your stacks up, then you know, your damage is going to be amplified by that amount. So you want to be staying invisible for as long as possible with Void Strike, and that's why you only rank that up to 1, so you can get Void Strike, rank this up to max, and then use that to one-shot Eidolon shields, which is really cool. So yeah, Phoenix Sprint, elemental damage is increased by 25%, which is cool. Phoenix Talons, physical damage is increased by 25%, again, which is cool. And then Inner Gaze and Eternal Gaze are your 2 waybound passives. It increases the regeneration rate of energy for amps and void beams by 60%. And then increase energy for amps and void beam by 40%, which just basically means more DPS whenever you have these 2 waybounds turned on, right? So you want to have these on every single focus skill tree. There's no reason not to have them, so get these. These are the ones that you're going to be spending 1 million focus plus a brilliant Eidolon shard on to share it across your trees, okay? So we also have Blazing Dash here. Blazing Dash, usually I wouldn't recommend getting anything which amplifies your dash, right? Unless it's something like Mind Sprint, but because with this one, every shot after you leave your invisible mode, it's going to consume a stack to amplify your damage. If you have Blazing Dash and Meteoric Dash, you can use these to actually destroy the Eidolon lures and hack those, so you can use those in the Eidolon fight. So you can hack, or you can build up your stacks and then use this ability to kill the lures instead of wasting your stacks on those lures, which means you can save your stacks for destroying the Eidolon shield, which is really cool. Flame Blast and Rising Blast, cool abilities, but not necessary, you know? Like, you have other damage dealing things like your amp, like any weapon ever, so this isn't necessary at all. But I would say MADURAI is probably one of my favorite trees because it's one of the trees that I use the most on. So yeah, moving on to UNAIRU. This one is all about defense and, you know, staying alive and stuff. So Void Spines increases, or no, not increases, 100% damage taken is returned to the attacker. It's cool. You don't need to rank this up to max if you don't want to. Basilic Scales and Basilic Gaze are your waybounds here, so these are the ones that are shared across the multiple trees. It increases the armor for the operator by 200%, and then we have increased the radius of Void Blast by 60%. So this one isn't a necessity, but it's okay. I wouldn't see a reason not to get it, apart from the fact that it'll cost a lot of focus to, you know, unbind it, but it would probably be one of the last ones that I do. Basilic Scales is a must-have, in my opinion. We have a Sundering Dash right here, which, I mean, it's not necessary, especially if you have 4 times Cruiser Projection. You definitely don't need this, and the same with Crippling Dash. You don't need that either. Void Shadow renders allies within 25 meters invisible, but it makes it so that you use more energy whenever you're invisible, right? So it's cool in the Eidolon fight, make it so that you can make your allies invisible. Whether or not you want this over the basically immunity whenever you're invisible is kind of down to you. So this one does Void Mode reduces damage taken by invisible allies within 25 meters. So it's up to you. Like, you can become completely immune while you're invisible in void mode, or you can sacrifice a little bit of time in that to make your allies also immune to damage as well. So this is a kind of a if you want to. Personally, I wouldn't use it because I'm a selfish player and everyone else has the ability to be immune as well. But, you know, it's up to you. Are you a team player? That's kind of what you have to decide there. Stone Skin increases armor for Warframe and Operator by 60. If you're going to be using the UNAIRU tree, like let's say if you're a Chroma player, it would make sense to use this tree because it can increase your damage. There's no reason not to pick this one up, in my opinion. Magnetic Blast. Enemies hit by Void Blast are affected by Bullet Attractor. It's okay. I wouldn't recommend ranking it up to max because you want to get UNAIRU Wisp as soon as possible. But there's no reason not to fully max it out once you have that spare focus line around, right? So, UNAIRU Wisp. Void Blast has a 100% chance to summon a Wisp. When it damages an enemy, the Wisp can be picked up by allies to increase operator damage by 100% for 12 seconds. So, you damage an enemy with Void Blast, it summons a little Wisp, which increases your allies' damage by 100% for 12 seconds, which is awesome if your buddy is using Void Strike, because then you can pair this with Void Strike to take down the Eidolon shields even faster. So, that's why your Chroma player in an Eidolon hunt will be using this skill specifically. Everything else, like your Waybounds, your Stone Skin, Void Shadow, and Void Chrysalis are kind of, you don't really have to use it, and then these little Void Dash abilities here, you don't need those either, but anything that increases your armor, I would recommend getting in this skill tree. But then moving on to the last but not least, we have our VAZARIN skill tree, which is the one all about healing, and this one has very important Waybounds, such as Enduring Tides and Rejuvenating Tides. So, this increases the health of your operator by 150%, and the Rejuvenating Tides increases the health regeneration of your operator by 4 per second, which is really good. There's no reason not to have these, so get these as soon as possible. Pair this with like Magus Vigor, Magus Husk, and you're going to have a very tanky operator. Those are operator arcanes, by the way. So, Mending Unity, I mean, if you want to increase your affinity radius, go for it. Rank this up a little bit, but it's not necessary. I recommend going straight for these Waybounds. Mending Soul, next 4 revives are instantaneous, which is awesome. There's no reason not to get that if you're going to be using this tree. Void Regen. Void Mode heals 4 health per second. This ability costs an additional 2 energy per second. So, if you want to regen your health, go for it. Void Mode creates a shield that grows up to 5 meter over 5 seconds. This ability costs an additional 2 energy per second. Again, if you want that, go for it. I don't see them as necessities because you have frames like, you know, Frost, which can make a bubble. You have mods like Rejuvenation, which can regen health, or Trinity to instantly restore everybody's health. So, again, these aren't necessarily the best thing. Protective Dash. Allies hit by Void Dash are granted immunity from damage for 2 seconds and are healed 25% over 5 seconds. Sounds cool, right? I would say that there's no reason to get this if you're going to be using this tree. However, I will say I wouldn't use this tree a lot because, I mean, Xeneric, MADURAI, NARAMON, those are kind of my go-to trees. Sonic Dash, Lamau. Void Dash no longer displaces enemies. Instead, it emits a shockwave of 8 meters wide and travels 2 meters, stunning any enemy that it hits. Pretty cool. No reason not to get it, like if you have the spare focus. Guardian Shell. Void Blast can be charged to manifest a shield that drains energy for every 150 damage absorbed. Pretty cool. Then we have Guardian Blast. Void Blast consumes 25 energy for each ally hit within 5 meters and grants them 50 shields. I wouldn't recommend those. If you have the spare focus, go for it. This is definitely, in my opinion, one of the more underwhelming trees, but it has very important Waybound passives. So, yeah, hopefully that gave you guys a decent look into the focus skill trees and what is necessary versus what is kind of met. What I'll do, I guess, with the video is I'll go through and I would say all these are necessary. So if you want to screenshot the Xeneric tree, these are your necessary ones. If we go to our NARAMON, these are your necessary ones. If we go to MADURAI, we go ahead and actually equip those again because those are needed. These are your necessary ones. We back out of this and go to UNAIRU. Let's see. Whoop. These are your necessary ones. And if we go to VAZARIN, these are your necessary ones. This one's cool. Not necessary though. I would recommend getting these as soon as possible. This one's pretty good though. No reason not to get this, but that's the case with a lot of them as well. So there's no reason not to get them once you have spare focus, but that's pretty much it. So anyway, guys, I hope that summed it up for you a little bit. That's the focus skill trees and everything you should get in them. I hope I explained it well enough for you guys to kind of understand, made it as quick as possible, and all that good stuff. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button below. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.